Here in the studio with me, clinical and forensic psychologist Dr. J. Buzz von Ornsteiner. That's certainly a mouthful.
To J. Buzz von Ornsteiner, whom you all know very well as Dr. Buzz.
We have no one better to discuss that than Dr. Buzz, and he is with us here.
Let's go straight out to J. Buzz von Ornsteiner.
I have Dr. Buzz, which I love that name.
Me, J. Buzz von Ornsteiner. I just like saying that name.
Here in the studio with me, a face you know well, clinical and forensic psychologist Dr. J. Buzz von Ornsteiner.
Let me go over to Dr. Buzz, J. Buzz von Ornsteiner. I found out what the J stands for, Dr. Buzz.
Yeah, that's right.
I did a little investigating, but I'm not going to say it on national television. It's a nice name, though, but Buzz, that's a winner.
Does he have the markings of a sociopath if he did this killing?
To me personally, as a psychologist, as a forensic psychologist, I think he's classic psychology 101 antisocial personality disorder. He has all the makings of that. And again, you know, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. His father sounds like a real rotten apple. And again, he has produced a son, Perry March, who to me is again a real rotten apple and classic in terms of what an antisocial personality disorder is.
Very well spoken.
Does that add up to a motive for murder?
What her perception was is that she was being abused. At least from my experience as a psychologist, her perception seemed to be fairly skewed. It didn't really seem to matter if they were going to counseling or if he was a supportive husband. He could possibly have been the most supportive husband, but her perception was that he wasn't. Her perception was that she was in charge of the bookkeeping and she had screwed up and she was shamed and humiliated by him and he was very critical of her. So her perception was very skewed. She seemed to be hypersensitive to criticism, and in isolation with no other support services and no one to talk to, it just seemed to grow.
Argument. Buzz, what's going on here with all these cheating dogs we have on court TV? God help you if you happen to be cheating on your wife and she turns up dead. That's going to be a bad piece of evidence against you, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. He's not the loving, doting husband that he claims he is. He's been engaging in sexually inappropriate behavior, even though he's a married man. But these relationships don't sound particularly romantic. It doesn't sound like he's giving them boxes of candy and flowers and saying, I love you, I must have you, you are my world, I must go away with you. Usually that's the general hogwash, you know, guys tell women when they want them.
Say no. Say no. They don't say those things, do they, Buzz? Does he not need to take the stand now that the jury's gotten a sense of who he is?
Yeah, I don't think he should take the stand. I mean, he comes across as a rat. He comes across as a womanizer. He comes across as a guy in the mood, but that doesn't mean he's capable of murder. You know, when we look at Perry March, I mean, he is a rat, he's a louse, I think someone called him a schmuck, he's a no-good Nick, he's an awful man, but he certainly has a really good lawyer. You know, this idea that he's smug or arrogant or superior, and that kind of grandiosity, if that comes through to the jurors, that's a bad thing.
She's not even allowed to testify live in front of the jury.
You know, Lisa, we are a very superficial society. I think everyone's aware of that, and we are human, and we are affected by emotion. We're affected by how attractive a person is. We're affected by what their age is. And again, the judge is trying to keep those things in check because we are so easily swayed. I am a believer in that anyone who has been a victim, anyone who has a stake in any kind of trial, they should follow it through. They should be there, and they should take part in it. And it is very cathartic, and it is very healthy to follow it through. So I'm a strong believer in that.
I didn't think of it that way. Good thing we got Dr. Buzz here to bring that out.
You know, the bottom line, if we're taking out post-traumatic stress disorder, get this gun away from this guy and don't live next to me and go move out in the country.
You sound like Lisa Bloom. Get this gun away from this guy. And actually, it's good advice in so many of the cases that we cover. But we lawyers, we often have to dabble in psychology and social work, right?
Yes, absolutely. I work with a lot of lawyers and a lot of police officers, and all of them, believe it or not, have anger issues and sometimes uncontrollable rage. But the first step is identifying that you need help.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any anger issues. No, I don't need to make the first step. All right. The best defense will have to rest for the day. My special thanks to Dr. Buzz von Ornsteiner, one of my favorites here in New York.
A big thank you to my guests, clinical and forensic psychologist Dr. J. Buzz von Ornsteiner.
Right.